Yo, what is good? Kick and Bass fam. I know it's been a minute, but I am back. It's your boy Westend here for another tutorial. And today we are going to be talking all about ear candy, how to reference other tracks for ear candy, where to add it in your track, how to come up with ideas for it. And yeah, it's just going to be a total tutorial all on ear candy. So let's dive right into it. First off, what is ear candy? So to me, when people say ear candy, what it really just means are small details that show up in your track that other people may not notice, but if you took it away, it would kind of feel like something's missing. And a really fun thing to do is to listen to other people's tracks and kind of like notice what they put in. Because a lot of times, if you're not doing active listening, you can kind of skip over some of the stuff that's being included. But once you start to like get an ear for hearing where ear candy's showing up and what it sounds like, it can be really fun and really inspiring to find some stuff. So let's listen to the idea that we have right here. All right, so this is the main kind of 8-bar loop that we're dealing with. Let's move on now to synth stuff. And synths are usually, the way I think of synths with ear candy is they're very additive. You're introducing like a new sound that's gonna kind of like spicing it up. It's kind of like when you eat like a fancy dish at a restaurant and like you get a hint of lemon at the end or some spice, right? It's there to kind of provide like some freshness. And it can be any sound you want. It can really be any melody. You just want to make sure it's like in key and it kind of matches up with creatively with like the vibe that you want. So this track is very like hip hoppy kind of dusty sounding. So I don't want something too like bright. I want something that's like reverby and like dusty and like FM-y. So I'm gonna open up Serum and I'm gonna put this here. And this is the fun part of having lots of presets. Like you could, if you're good with sound design, make something from scratch. Like, you know, that could be a whole other tutorial, but we want something like filtered. We could do like FM from B. I think bring this up. You have to change this waveform. Whatever, and then like create like a pluck or something. Maybe detune these a little bit. Anyways, I'm not going to come up with a great sound right now in 10 seconds. This is where presets can come super handy. So knowing where your sounds are great. And I think especially for ear candy, this is like where you want to be really experimental. So like I could use like a bass sound as, even though it's not going to really be my bass line, it could be a good ear candy sound. So, you know, let's kind of, this one's a little boring. This is pretty cool. So what key were we working in? What are these loops in? C minor. Great. So I love like this kind of sound on the one. If you listen to my track with John Summit, Detonate, like we did this, and he was actually asking me for feedback on one of his new remixes for Shaq, the jumping all around one, moving all around. And one of the notes I gave him was like, oh, it'd be cool to have some synth stabs on the one. So if you listen, there's like this bonk kind of sound and it comes back later. But that's like something that's like, okay, let's just add a little bit more excitement to the track. So I think I'm too low, right? Right, and I want this to be short. And we may have to process this. All right, so this is like it's kind of hard to hear, so we may have to open Serum back up again. All right, I'm not really getting in the mix. I'm gonna pick a different sound. And I could just be too low here. So this is like more of like a real like lead sound. You can kind of hear it. Let's turn down the release time on this. There's a lot of reverb as well, right? Let's turn down the decay time. All right, so we have it kind of starting here. So I started to hear a melody in my head, and I kind of want to get that vibe of the melody. And what I was hearing was like bum 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 bum, something right here. Bum 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 bum. So I can kind of see when I started singing it. It was like right there. So let's start with like a note here on the C. And this is when it's great to like loop it so you can really dial it in. Bum bum bum. Bum bum bum. Maybe it needs to come here. Bum 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 bum. There we go. So I think it'd be easier if I open this up a little bit. This is great. I love the new Ableton. You can put C minors, your scale, and you can see all your notes. Sometimes like this, the notes that aren't in the scale still sound good. So. And let's like listen. No, I want. Dun 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 dun. That's cool, right? And once you have a sound like this, we can kind of like, let's think like, all right, we introduced the sound here. Let's process it a little differently for this ear candy. So I'm just going to start like twisting some of this stuff. That's kind of cool to have that automation open up towards the end. Maybe you go up an octave. So like that lower octave, it wasn't really fitting in the mix. It was kind of getting like muddied up. So I felt like it worked better higher. So let's listen to our 8-bar loop now. Cool. So I really like that actually, and I think let's make this one slightly different. So this is more variation than ear candy. I like to make it a different color, so I remember. And let's like add some more notes maybe. So let's like maybe do an octave jump here. Octave jump's very safe. And we can maybe octave jump here. Maybe we octave jump them all, like F. So then we have to go back to C5, and then we go back to C. That's pretty cool, and maybe we want to do some different like filtering here. So I put this point as an anchor point to make sure that Because if I don't put that point there and I just start to bring that down, it's going to fuck with everything from before. So anchor point. It's kind of cool. Let's go back. Let's actually go this way instead. So one could argue that this isn't really ear candy, but to me it is, because it wasn't really part of my main idea, and it was more of how do we flesh this 8-bar loop out to make it more interesting. So it is kind of call and responsey, but I would say it's ear candy, especially just like the way we're treating it.